So example number 3, usually for example 3a, when this appears on a test, it usually has the words solve algebraically, which means you're not allowed to just guess and check or use any shortcuts. The shortcut for this one would be, oh, NP2 equals 56. The shortcut says that the 2 is the number of spaces, and the n is the number that you start with. And it would be relatively easy to figure out what are two numbers in a row that multiply to give 56. 8 times 7. So then n has to be 8. That is the right answer, but that is not solving it algebraically. So we also have to learn, what do they mean when they mean solve it algebraically? Algebraically, NP2 has a formula. That formula is n factorial over n minus 2 factorial. And that formula is on your formula sheet like this. NPR is n factorial over n minus r factorial. Algebraically, when you have 2 factorials, you're able to simplify them. And you're able to simplify them by expanding the bigger one. This is easier to see if we use actual numbers. So off to the side here, just temporarily, I'm going to say if I had 10 factorial over 8 factorial, I hope you would notice that 10 is bigger than 8. And the definition of a factorial would be 10 times 9. And I would keep going until I get down to 1. But instead of writing them going all the way down to 1, when I get to 8, I'm going to stop and just leave it. Why would it be nice just to leave it? Because 8 factorial would cancel out with the 8 factorial on the bottom, and I'm just left with 10 times 9. So if you expand the bigger one, you will eventually get to the one that's smaller. So the first thing you have to decide between n factorial and n minus 2 is which one's bigger. Is n or n minus 2 bigger? N is going to be bigger. So then we start using the formula that says equals 56 n, and then you multiply by 1 less. What's 1 less than n? N minus 1. Then you would multiply by 1 less than that. And you keep going until you get to n minus 2 factorial. Well, 1 less than n minus 1 would be n minus 2. I will stop there, and the n minus 2 factorials will cancel. So the way that we simplify equations with factorial signs is we divide and expand the bigger one until it cancels out with the smaller. What does this leave us with? N times n minus 1 would be, wow, red. N squared minus n equals 56. This is a quadratic equation. You know how to solve quadratic equations. You have to make one side equal to 0. And factor or use the quadratic formula. This one factors nicely. In fact, all of these ones will always factor nicely because n has to be a whole number, but you get both n equals 8 and n equals negative 7. Two possible answers. However, factorials, we looked originally, factorials only make sense for positive numbers and 0. If I plug in 7, I have a negative factorial. That one will be not possible. So the only solution is n equals 8. And at this point, you're a little bit angry at me because the shortcut was a lot easier. Right? 2 spaces, 2 numbers in a row that work to give you 56. No problem. But very typical of, well, when there was a provincial final, it would always say solve algebraically. I'm going to have one like this on my test. I will say solve algebraically because I want to see that you know how to simplify a factorial. which is part of the skill set that you're supposed to develop in this unit. However, B is not one that can be solved nicely algebraically. Sometimes the shortcut is better. So we have 5PR is equal to 20. Is one space enough? Is two spaces enough? So sometimes you will be able to do some guess and check. Two spaces is enough. 5 times 4 is 20. So R has to be 2. And even if you try to do this one algebraically, you have to guess and check anyways. So this is it's nice to know that the one thing, how to connect it, that the second number is the number of spaces, the first number is the number you start with, allows you to solve for this easily. Okay, question number 10.